I hate events like this. I feel like a spare part while all the influential people are mingling and congratulating each other. Caroline, my wife, is busy talking about her charity. I've already met the local MP, and then there's Roger Dewey, the local head of Children's Services. If he lays a hand on her again, I swear I'll confront him. The only reason these people are here is because Caroline is doing so well and they hope to claim some credit. They make me sick. The problem is I also make myself sick. Look at me, a college lecturer teaching engineering. I settled for a secure position and a good pension, and I hate myself for it. Before the company went bankrupt, I was the top man for control engineering. Then came the crunch, and it was a matter of either moving away or taking a job at the college. We couldn't disrupt the children's education, so I opted for a secure salary and pension. 10 years later, the children are at university and I'm still here. Meanwhile, Caroline has embraced her new freedom and shown the world what she can do. Caroline always said I was the clever one while she downplayed her own abilities. I knew differently. She was smart in her own way. Caroline was an organizer and a persuader of people. She trained as a nursery nurse but was wasted in that role. By the time the children left school, she was working as a frustrated nursery manager for an organization she was capable of running. When the manager resigned, I urged her to take on the role. She had the ability but lacked the confidence, so I did my best to give her that confidence. I wanted her to fulfill her true potential because that's what you do when you love someone. She had given her all for us, and now it was her turn. I didn't realize it would consume her life, leaving no room for me. Okay, I admit it. I'm jealous. Not of her job because it's better than mine, but because it gets all her time and attention, leaving nothing for me. I don't resent her success. I'm proud of what she's achieved. It's just that it's ruined our plans. When the children left, it was supposed to be our time to do things together, see the world. Now that plan has gone to hell and I hardly see her. That's why I'm here. If I don't show up to these events, I never get to spend time with her. Who knows? If it goes well, we might even share a small moment of intimacy when we get home. We take our seats for the presentation ceremony. Caroline waves as she makes her way up to the stage. I move to the far side of the room, and can just see her take her seat in the wings next to that troublesome figure from Children's Services. I watch Caroline go through her speech. Until recently she would have asked for my help, but I have no idea what's in this speech. A local radio celebrity steps up to the podium and outlines the agenda for the evening, and the room becomes quiet. Caroline is up for 2 awards, one for her organization and one individual. I sit through the first part, waiting for the non-government organization's awards. We've known for months that Caroline's project had won this award. She was even asked who she wanted to present it. Like a fool, I suggested the head of Children's Services. It doesn't hurt to get these people on side. I told her before I found out what kind of person he was. Now we come to the organization that has made the most progress in child care, said our Master of Ceremonies. Presenting this award is the head of Children's Services for Welfordshire, Mr. Roger Dewey. People applaud, but not me. This guy is unpleasant. He's only been in the job for 6 months and already has a reputation. He's talking about how the organization rose from the ashes, but that was 2 years ago and the council he represents was part of the original problem. Someone has briefed him well, though. He tells us who the winner is and Caroline steps forward to receive her award. He walks back to his seat and I wait for the speech. Normally I'm as familiar with the speech as she is. I'm her trial audience and advisor. But this time I have no idea what she will say. She looks back at Dewey and he nods to her. Almost immediately I sense something is wrong. She's talking politics, discussing the problems caused by the government's funding cuts. I've always said that the people you criticize today might be in power tomorrow. I glance around the room and see uncomfortable faces. Now she's thanking people, the trustees, the nursery managers, the caseworkers. She looks back at him again and says, last but by no means least, I'd like to thank Mr. Roger Dewey. Without his help and support, we would never have made it this far. I ask myself what help and support he provided. This award was decided before he even took the job. Why is she thanking him without even a mention of me? I was the one who helped her handle a hostile committee that wanted to shut down the project. She sits down and he places his hand on her back. He moves his hand across her shoulders and then lower down her back. This isn't a congratulatory gesture from a colleague. It's more personal. Suddenly everything is clear. The late-night meetings, the weekend conferences, and the fundraising trips to London all explained in an instant. I get out of my seat. She's making no attempt to stop him until our eyes meet. I have no idea what expression I'm wearing, but it can't be pleasant. Her mouth falls open in shock, and she gasps before shaking herself and continuing to speak while Dewey quickly withdraws his hand. I make my way to the aisle and walk out of the room. Once outside, I throw up in a litter bin near the door and lean against the wall, gasping in the cold night air. I consider my situation. It can't be true, not my Caroline. But deep down I know it is. I've been teaching for 10 years and have learned something about body language. His hands were clearly indicating ownership. What do I do now? Do I go back in there and pretend nothing happened? Can I look at Caroline without seeing Dewey's inappropriate behavior? What about him? Can I resist confronting him as soon as he comes near me? Going back inside is not an option. I need to think and I can't do it here. Where is my car? Finding my car keys, I press the unlock button and the lights flash in response. Sitting in my car, I feel somewhat insulated from the problems outside. I start the engine and head home. I can think there. Caroline has another award to come, so she'll be busy here for at least another hour. I'm on the road before the arguments in my head start. What are you doing? Asks a voice in my head. You can't be sure there's anything going on. It's not like you caught them in the act. But I know what I saw. It was obvious, but there might be a reasonable explanation. Yes, he was too familiar with her. But is that enough? As I drive down the hill toward the bridge, I reach a crossroads. 2 cars are approaching. The first car slows to turn left and the second car attempts to pass, but there isn't enough space. I react too slowly. The car tries to pull back in, but I hit its rear end, knocking me sideways. The impact triggers the airbags and I can see nothing. There is another impact and everything goes black. Blue lights are flashing outside. I reach for the door and a sharp pain shoots through me. I can't move. It feels like I'm pinned to the seat. The door is pulled open and a stocky man in green overalls stands before me. Hello, mate. My name's George. I'm a paramedic. What should I call you? John. Okay, John. Let's see what we've got here. He gets out a flashlight and looks around, then opens the rear door and checks inside. John, mate, I'm not going to lie to you. We're in serious trouble here. There's a tube from the bridge that's come through the car, through you and into the seat. I'm going to call the fire and rescue service to get you out. George leaves me and I wonder how things could get any worse. In a few minutes he returns and talks to me while we wait. More blue lights signal the arrival of the fire and rescue team. George goes to talk to them and then comes back to me. Well, John, I hope you're not too attached to this car because they're going to have to cut you out of it. The car's a write-off, but we'll get you out. I nod and George starts to move out of the way. George, are my legs all right? Yeah, mate, they look fine. It's just that I can't feel anything down there. His cheerful expression fades and I realize I'm in serious trouble. They cut the car apart, first the doors, then the roof. The floodlights make everything too bright and I see the tube sticking out of my abdomen. George reassures me, but the process is slow. As they cut through the tube, I'm surrounded by people and someone injects something into the back of my hand. Everything fades to black again. I wake in a brightly lit room. My throat is dry. Caroline is here, still wearing the dress from the presentation. She has her back to me, the same back Dewey was touching. I'm lying on my side, propped up by pillows. I search for water but can't find any. Water, I croak. She turns at the sound of my voice and rushes to the bed. Thank God you're all right. I've been so worried about you, she says, pressing the call button to summon the nurse. What happened? What were you doing? The nurse bustles into the room and Caroline makes room for her. How are you, Mr. Fletcher? Thirsty. Very thirsty. I can't give you any water yet, it might make you sick. Here, suck on this, it will help a bit. She places a small ice cube in my mouth. It's too cold but soothing. Try not to talk too much. I'll tell the doctor you're awake and he'll be in to talk to you soon. Caroline returns, her eyes red and tears running down her cheeks. She takes my hand and squeezes it. When the presentation was over, I looked for you but couldn't find you anywhere. When I saw the car was missing, I had to get a taxi home. You mean Dewey didn't give you a lift? I start to ask but struggle to speak with the ice cube in my mouth. I pull it out for a moment. Why are you here, Caroline? What do you mean? Why am I here? The hospital called and told me my husband was seriously injured. I came straight here. What else was I supposed to do? I find it difficult to be cruel to her despite my inner turmoil. Go home, Caroline. Get some sleep. You look like you need it. I certainly do. Anyway, you were the nurse, I mustn't talk much. I put the ice cube back in and suck on it. Maybe I'll wait and talk to the doctor. I'm not a child. The doctor can say all he needs to say to me. If you really want to do something for me, you can call Bob at the college and let him know what happened. I won't be working for a while. What's wrong, John? Why are you acting like this? I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with being injured. Maybe you're right. I should go home and come back later when you're feeling better. She gets up, picks up her coat and bends to kiss my cheek. I'll be back later, she says as she puts her coat on. She reaches the door and turns back. I love you, she says, and a tear runs down her cheek. The doctor, a cheerful sort, arrives and has arranged for me to have something to drink while he views my scans on his tablet. You're a lucky man, Mr. Fletcher. The tube missed all the vital organs. How do you feel? Like a survivor of the Zulu Wars. I'm expecting Michael Caine to come in any minute with a progress report. What? Oh yes, the film. I caught it on Netflix a while back. Good to see you've kept your sense of humor. As I said, you've been very lucky. Just 2 broken ribs that we've wired back in place. No lasting damage. Then why don't my legs work? His expression changes. His smile fades and he looks concerned. He uncovers my legs and goes through a routine of tests. He pulls a pin from the collar of his scrubs. Yell when you feel something, he says. I don't see what he's doing, but I can guess. Pull your toes down for me. I tell my toes to move, but nothing happens. Now up, he says. I send the command again, but my toes remain still. He covers my legs again and makes notes on his tablet. Okay, it looks like we've got some nerve damage. I don't want you to panic. It's probably temporary. When the ribs broke, they also displaced your spine a bit. We know none of the nerves were severed, but they might be deadened, or there could be some swelling putting pressure on the nerves. We'll wait a few days and do more tests. Not so lucky after all, Doc. You're still alive, Mr. Fletcher. Given the circumstances, I'd say that's lucky. He leaves and I fall asleep. The nurses come in to make their observations and I go back to sleep. It's evening now. The nurses move me into a sitting position and administer more pain relief. At 6:30 p.m., Caroline walks into my room. She looks less tired, but her eyes are still red. She smiles as she walks over to the bed and kisses me on the lips. You're looking better. What did the doctor say? He said I'm a lucky man. A week ago I would have agreed with him. You are lucky. We both are. You survived and we still have each other. Do we, Caroline? Do we still have each other? This is the first time in months that I've seen her before 9 p.m. She looks down at the floor. I wait for her to come clean, but she doesn't. Instead, she offers a small smile. You're right. I've been neglecting us, but that's all going to change. It's time I got my priorities straight. I'm going to delegate more. They owe me some leave, so when I get you home, I'll take a few weeks off to take care of you. I'm not coming home. Don't be silly. Of course you're coming home. Who will take care of you? You're not just going to get up and walk out of here. For a second I wonder if she knows about my legs, but then I realize that even the nurses won't be informed until there is a diagnosis. No, she expects me to be discharged in the next 10 days. My ribs won't let me do much, and I doubt I'll be out of here for a few weeks. But when they do discharge me, I won't be coming home. You see, I know what's been going on between you and Dewey. Her face begins to redden, and she looks away briefly before meeting my gaze again. There's nothing going on between us. Who told you such a thing? He did. Dewey said it just before I left. He said it to me and anyone else who was interested. What are you talking about? He hardly spoke to you last night and I don't blame him. I thought you were being quite rude. Not as rude as I would have been if I'd known at that point. I only knew of his reputation. Oh no, it was when you were on stage. He didn't need words to make his point. You know what happened. You saw me get up looking angry, but I didn't know you were watching me. Watching? Do you think I wanted to witness you two being close? I admire you and feel proud to see you achieving what I always knew you could. That's how I felt when things started going wrong, when Dewey had his hands all over your back and you did nothing to stop him. I watch her undo her top button, and try to cool off by fanning the front of her blouse. Why do they make these places so hot? She says rhetorically, without expecting an answer. All right, he gave me a little pat on the back, but that's surely not worth splitting up over. It was more than that. I know you, Caroline. For you, caressing and rubbing your back can be more than just friendly gestures. The disturbing thing is that he knew enough to do the same things I would. Tears start to form in her eyes. It gives me no pleasure to see her like this. She dabs at her eyes with a tissue and tries to steady her breathing. She wants to say something, so I wait. I was going to tell you last night when we got home. But after finding out what happened, I decided to wait until you were more able to handle it. I'm so sorry, John. I didn't mean for it to happen. Really, I didn't. I was under such pressure and I buckled. Are you saying he pressured you? Well, yes, no, sort of. At first, yes. But does it matter? It's over. I told him last night never to touch me again. It was a brief and unpleasant encounter. I made the biggest mistake of my life. Now I'm pleading with you, John, please let me try to repair the damage. We can get past this. I know we can. I wish I had your confidence, Caroline. But the fact is, I don't. I lost my self-respect a long time ago. Finding out I've lost your respect has affected me deeply. You're not the only one who made sacrifices for our family. I sacrificed a good career because we couldn't disrupt the children's education by moving to another part of the country. When they left for university, you started your career again, and we stayed because I wanted you to see how good you are. I can make logical decisions and help with plans, but I could never handle people the way you do. You are so good at managing things. I had to give you the chance to spread your wings and fly. Now you have that confidence and you can do it on your own. Where does that leave me? For 10 years, I've been teaching kids who aren't interested in subjects far below the level I used to work at. It drove me crazy. As the years went by and the job became more quantifiable and political, I hated it more. The only reason I stuck it out was because it was for us. Now I find there is no us. What am I going to do? Nobody who heard me speak last night would think I've lost respect for you. You mean the speech where you said you owe everything to Dewey? No, I mean the second one where I told everyone how I owe everything to my wonderful, supportive, unselfish husband. People were calling for you to stand up, but you weren't there. I had to tell them you were very shy. If you want to move away to find a better job, we can do that. I'll give up my job and look for something else wherever we end up. Please, John, let me try to make it right. And how will quitting your job make anything right? It will just be another thing for me to feel guilty about. It's all right. I'm not blaming you. I'm not the man you married. The man you married would never settle for security. He would have found a way around the problem, even if it meant setting up his own consultancy. He wouldn't have ended up like me. I don't blame you. I don't respect myself either, but I do love you and respect you. All the things you see as negatives, I see as positives. Yes, you've changed, but you had a family to support. I wanted you to take the job at the college. I wanted a regular income, and to be sure we could pay the mortgage at the end of the month. I'm sorry I never realized how much you hated the job. If you want to quit, that's fine by me. I can support us. Please, John, can't we leave all of this until I've got you back home? Give us some time. It will all seem clearer then. She doesn't see that she is just digging herself deeper into a hole. There is an uneasy silence as Caroline continues to dab at her eyes with a tissue. I break the silence. I have to get back my self-respect and be the man I know I can be, just like you. I need to do that. I can't kid myself anymore. What I thought I had, the reason I used to accept the situation, is gone. We can do that together. I can help you like you helped me. I really will be the best wife I can be. You've already been a wonderful wife for more than 20 years, a better wife than I had a right to ask for. But that's over. You can't be part of the solution because you're part of the problem. Now comes what I expect to be the final salvo. What am I going to tell the children? Whatever you like. Tell them we grew apart, or that I couldn't live with your work commitments. You could even tell them the truth. I'll go along with whatever you say as long as you don't make me the bad guy. That's it. It's over. There are no more arguments to bring up. But what about Roger? Does he get off scot-free? He's ruined our lives and walks away without a scratch. It takes two to tango, Caroline. I know that, but it was him who did all the chasing. I deserve what's happening, but you've done nothing to deserve this. You're sitting there acting calm, but I know this is breaking your heart. I hate myself for what I've done, but he doesn't care. So she's spoken to him today? Well, what did she expect? That he'd be grief-stricken? I bet he tried to talk her into letting him come around tonight. That would explain why she's so disgusted. I don't know why I'm so calm. Maybe it's all the opiates they're giving me. You shouldn't worry about Dewey. He'll face consequences. By the end of tomorrow, the inquiry will have started. There will be several women ready to come forward with their allegations. The college crush is one of them. I tried to tell you about her 2 weeks ago, but you were too tired. She's sobbing her heart out, and all I can do is sit and watch. I'm torn between wanting to comfort her and thinking she deserves it. Dewey asked her out to dinner to discuss her funding needs. He got annoyed when she wanted to bring her husband. She realizes what a fool she's been and what a worthless person Dewey is. She gets up and runs out of the room with tears streaming down her face. I sit and wait. I know she will come back. It isn't over until she has one more try, or so she thinks. She returns. The tear streaks are washed away, as is all her makeup. Her eyes are still red, and she looks ready to cry again at any moment. So, are you going to report him? You know that it will reflect on me. You'll be all right. Your committee won't want to lose you. I should know. I found half of them for you. They know a good thing when they see it. The worst you'll get is a written warning. Dewey is a different matter, seducing women whose organizations are dependent on him for funding. I think the council will take a very dim view of that. He probably did it all on expenses. When I give them the dates of the weekend conferences and the fundraising trips to London, I'm sure they'll look into it. If I'm right, that's fraud. He might go to jail. I hope you were worth it. She sits beside the bed, unable to control her crying. You could try to dig him out by denying everything. She's holding one hand out towards me, shaking her head as she continues to cry. I'm calm, unaffected by her outpouring of grief. She's grieving for what she must know has just ended. I wait for her to stop crying, and eventually she does. She dries her eyes and tries to compose herself. So, what happens now? If you're not coming home, where will you go? I'll stay here until I can cope on my own, then I'll find somewhere to live. I'll let you know where to find me if you decide to sell the house. You can send me my half. No, I mean us. What happens to us? Well, the doctor reckons that clean breaks heal faster, so perhaps you'd better leave now and not come back. But I love you. Then set me free. Her head goes down and she swallows. For the first time in her life together, she's given up, accepting defeat. She gets up, comes to the bed, kisses my cheek, then turns and walks to the door. She wipes away a tear, gives me a wave, and then she's gone. It's not over. Not yet. Not for her. She'll be back to try again. The boys will be in to see me and they'll put pressure on me to go home, to give her another chance. Who knows? If they keep it up long enough, they may even find out about the paralysis. It will make no difference. It's like a switch has flipped in my brain. For the first time I am top of my priority list. I don't need anyone's pity. With what is in my head I don't need legs. The college won't move my lab to the ground floor or to a building with a lift. I can probably negotiate a severance deal and insurance payments. I'll have some time to bring my skills up to date. Perhaps the doctor is right. I am a lucky man, lucky to be alive, lucky to have found out when I still have time to start again. I'm lucky to have the cash to tide me over until I get back up the ladder. Why then do I feel so empty inside? I don't want to do this. I never do. I must have given 24 or more presentations and lectures in the last year, but I'm still not used to it. The butterflies are fluttering in my stomach as I walk through Embankment Gardens towards Savoy Place. Good morning, Michael, I say as I reach my destination. Michael Faraday says nothing, statues are like that. He just stands looking out across the gardens and the river. You haven't seen a nice young lady, have you? About 5 feet 8 inches, long dark hair usually in a ponytail, high cheekbones, a lovely figure, but she's hidden under trousers and a loose sweater. No, I didn't think so. She'll be late, they always are, aren't they? We've struck up a bit of a relationship, Michael and I. He's the quiet one, always gives me a chance to speak, and yes, he's a hero of mine. No visit to London is complete without a quick word with Michael. Today, I'm visiting his home, the Institute of Engineering Technology, as an invited speaker. I just wish Lauren would get here. She knows exactly when to start the video and change the slides without me having to tell her. I don't want to brief anyone else. I hope she hasn't missed her train. I say this while the statue remains silent. My thoughts are disturbed by the click-clack of high heels behind me. I turn and there she is wearing a blue skirt, suit and high heels. You've got legs. Oh, you've noticed. I only bring them out on special occasions, and you did say I had to smarten up a bit. She spun around for me. Well, how do I look? I looked up at the statue. Well, Michael, what do you think? I paused before turning back to her. Michael thinks you look absolutely gorgeous. And what about you? You'll do. Come on, we need to make sure everything is set up right, and I'll introduce you to a few people. She loops her arm through mine, and we turn towards the main entrance. I reach up to rub the statue's foot. Wish me luck, I say to Michael as we head towards the steps. Good luck. I stop and turn around. There is no one behind me. Everyone is going about their business. Now what? Asks Lauren. Did you hear that? Someone said good luck. Now I'm getting worried. Talking to statues is one thing, but when they answer back, that's something else. All I heard was the traffic. I'd better not tell them that one back at the lab. They'll think you've really lost it. We walk up the steps, and I hold the door for her as she slips her arm through mine. I am conscious of the admiring glances. I know what they're thinking when they look at me. Lucky guy. How did he manage to attract her? He's either very wealthy or has some other impressive quality. Back in the day, I would have had similar thoughts. They're wrong, of course. We work together. We're friends. But we don't have a personal relationship. At 32, she's a little over half my age. She's a great person, and one day she'll make someone very happy, but not me. She'll want children, but I've been there and done that. Maybe it's selfish, but at 50 years old I have no desire to go through it again. Oh yes. I've got children. 2 boys, Ross and Jamie. Don't blame me. My wife chose the names. I've got kids.